This is Irontrader, and this is Midday Trading. So we're going to take a look at some stocks here. Micron, MU, OneStream, which is OS, Oracle, Costco, which their earnings are coming out tomorrow on the 25th, and Nike, their earnings are coming out on the 30th. Okay, this video is for information purposes only, not a recommendation to buy any stock about ETF. Please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. All right, here we have Micron. Now, this is getting a whole lot of big juice here, same way with all the old AI companies. So let's take a look at it and see what's going on. Now, here we have a daily chart and a weekly chart. Now, you can see here, first of all, on the RSI, we're way to an overbought condition. Look what happened last time. It came in and we sold right on down. So let's just see if the same thing's going to happen this time, or is it going to carry sideways action? Now, we got it all the way up here. The green is above your red. You can see how good momentum to the upside, which is, pretty obvious. But now we're starting to roll over. So let's just see how that's going to shake out. Same with the RSI here on the weekly. You're into that overbought condition, and the same way going on here. Good juice here, but got to be a little careful here at the top of this market. Now, this is what we're watching. This is going to be very, very key level on the downside. It's going to be that 8 SMA. Now, you can see here we went below it so far, but we're holding it at 162.78. That's going to be very, very key. Now, if we lose that, then you're going to come to the top right there at that 160.34 level, all right? And then we're going to come down to the bottom of this candle here at 155.26. But I want to show you this gap that you got to really be careful. If this does start selling off here, you want to go right down to that gap. That's 147.61. That's going to be your support level. And then we can go to the fill there at 142.24. Okay, so the bottom of the candle, 147.61, and top of there at 140.24. And then we want to run right into that at 142.13 level. Okay, so always watch these gaps and fills. A lot of times what it does, it'll come and it'll hold that gap, just like it's been doing here on the natural gas. You're holding that gap. Doesn't mean it has to go in there and fill that gap. A lot of times that creates a lot of really, really good support levels. And then we have the top of that candle, we have your 21-day. Now, there's another little gap all the way down here. I just want to point out 125.66 is the gap, and then 124.41 is the fill. So always keep your eye on that if you're trading it. But watch these key levels, your 8, your 21-day, your 50-day, your 100-day, and your 200-day. That's always very, very key. Now, upside. Well, you can see as long as we hold it at 162.77, we could have sideways to up action. So you want to watch this today's high, 166 flat, and we'll come out top of that candle, 167.26, and then top there, 168.99, and then there's the big boy at 170.45. Now, you crack above that, obviously you're going to head right for that 200 area, okay? Now, just because it's got to an overbought condition, that doesn't mean that it can't linger down and then go sideways action, like we have here, like on a weekly chart. You can go sideways action that. So, again, that 8-day is everything. As long as it holds, we got sideways to up action. Now, you look at the weekly, you can see here how nice this just ran right on up here. Nice series of a low, higher, low situation. Ran on up here, but again, we got these topping tails here, so just be very, very careful here. But again, if we can close back above 170.45, then we're going to be looking to hit that 200 area. Okay, let's take a look here now at OneStream. Here we have OneStream. Okay, so you can see here how we had this really nice big sell-off. We got below the 8-day, the 21-day. But now look here, I think we found a bottom. Okay, so what we have is 1842. And you say, what do I do? All you got to do is look right to the left of the chart here. What do you see? 1845. See that double bottom? See? Awesome. Now, again, if we lose that double bottom, then you're going to come right down to the bottom of that candle. You're looking at 1998 level. Then we'll come down here. You're looking at 1769. Sorry about that. Right here, you're looking at 1796. Sorry about that. And then we're looking at 1769. And then to the bottom of that candle, 1738. And then your retest there is 1669. But that's only if you lose that 1842 on a closing basis. Now, you can see here how nice we put in a lower low, but look at here, okay? See, this is what I always want to show you on this RSI, okay? So we put a low here, we put a low here, we put an even lower low, but we put a higher low. See this positive divergence? See, RSI just does measure, your relative strength. It also gives you those divergence here that says, wow, okay, I got a low, I got a lower low. That I can take that trade because now we have a positive divergence situation. Your green is over your red. This is looking here pretty good. You got to be a little bit patient, I say, with this one here, okay? So, bottom line, the downside right there, you're watching, that's going to be key support is 1969. That's your 21-day and your 8-day right below that and 1951. Those are very, very key. You want to make sure that you close back above that. Now, if we lose that, then we'll come down to the bottom of that candle, 1935 level. We have 1920. We'll come down here at that 1882, and then we have your retest at 1842 level. Okay, now you can see here when it rallied up here, we got as high as 2052. So all you got to do is look at the chart right here, 2052. Look at this, all this resistance level right here. See that? Check that white line out. See that? Look how many times did it hit it, and it just can't get through. So what you're looking for on the upside, you look at today's high, 2022. We look there at that 2034. We're looking at that 2052 level, and then we can get above that. Then we have that price channel sitting at 2114, which is basically just the top of that candle. Next line in line, bring that price channel right across. First of all, we had the 50-day at 2139, and then we're going to come up top of that candle at that 2160 level. Okay, then we can just, once we get above that, then you want to come to the bottom of that candle at that 2264 level. Then we come up to the top there at 2355. We'll come up to this level at 2418, and then we have whole Hondo sitting up here at that 2428 level, and then your 200 SMA. But right now we just have sideways action. A lot of times sideways action builds energy, and then when she rips, she rips. Now, the 8-day here is curling up. If we get that 8-day to curl over that 21-day, that would set the price higher. But just watch this level right here, this 2050 area. That's going to be very, very key on a closing basis because of how many times that you hit it. And if you can rally up here, that would be your target at that 2114 and that 2139 level. Now, here we have on a weekly chart, you can see how this 8-day, okay? See how the 8-day, it rallied up, couldn't get through it. Same way here, couldn't get through it. And now look here, now we're fighting it again. So you have to get above right there, that 8-day on a closing basis, on by Friday, if you can. That's at 2011. Then we got a good shot at retesting all the way back up here at that 2421 there over time. Okay, let's take a look here now at Oracle. All right, here we had Oracle. Okay, now they had big time earnings number, and they're gonna do all this in AI and everything, and I think that's fantastic. Okay, we're gonna talk about how they're gonna supply. Okay, all these when I get down to natural gas here after the old pit close. Okay, because what it is they want to put $100 billion into all this AI. But you're gonna need massive power, and the easy way to power everything is with natural gas. Okay, but we'll talk about that here in the next video. But right now here, we'll take a look here at Oracle. Now you can see here where we jumped up and we had this huge gap situation. Now, the key is we have to get right back above this 307.73. That's your 8 SMA. Then what we do is we come over to the top of that candle at that 312.47 level. We venture up here to your 319.97. We'll come up there at 325 flat, and then we'll come up to that 329. And then we have up here, you got 331, and then your 345.72 retest. Now, you crack that, obviously, 350, and you work your way all the way up to the 400 area. But right now, we got sideways consolidation after this huge move up here off the top of that at 243 level. Okay, so that's a big move. Now, on the downside here, we're going to watch today's low. That's that 302. Then we'll come down here to the bottom at 297. And then this is going to be a key level right here. This is going to be 292 flat. Okay. And right here, what we have, 291.75. So you take the lowest one, which is right here, 297. That's your gap. Okay. Then right here, look at the top of that candle, 243.49. There's your fill. Your gap and then your fill. But we have your 21-day, 50-day in between all that. But always pay attention to that gap and fill, because if it just starts running down and you lose the 21-day and the 50-day, then look to that fill area. That's going to be key. Now you can see here how we just had that spike up, where like an bought condition. And now we just have a sideways action. The green, everything just spiked up. So the chart is kind of a little bit messed up because we had that big gap up. But right now we have sideways action. And what you really want to watch is just the bottom of that candle. Okay, that 291.75. Long as we hold that area, then we can just basically just trade that box. Okay, trade that box. We lose it, you got the 21-day, the 50-day, and then we have gap fill all the way down here. Now, there is also, support right here at that 260 level. Okay, and then we have a support right there. Okay, at that 251 level. So all you do is take all these levels going right across. That becomes all your support levels, because as this breaks up, see how that runs up, then consolidate, and it breaks through. If it sells off, now those tops become your support levels, okay, as it's going right on down. See how nice that is? Easy peasy. But see, that's why we use these blue lines are just price channels. It makes life a lot easier, because what it does, it gives you that stair step as it's going up, but also gives you here support levels as it goes down if it keeps right on selling. Okay, let's take a look here now at Costco. Okay, here we have Costco. Now, this is always been a really, really good trade. Obviously, you can see 292 all the way to 1,078. Okay, not too bad. Yeah, this was in 21 here, but really nice, good trade. Okay, so now here's what we have on the daily chart. All right, so we came in here, we sold all the way down, but usually we sell after earnings. Okay, so let's just look at the earnings. Now, these are going to be out here to the 25th. Which would be tomorrow after the close. Okay, so we take this earnings situation. It always sells off after the earnings. See this right here? There's another earnings. See right there? And it sells right off. So what I do is I trade it into the earnings and then I dump it. Okay, just that simple. I mean, if it goes higher, I can always buy it back. That's no big deal. You know, it's just a trade. That's all it is. Okay, so you can see here we came all the way down to this 933 and we tested that level. Right here, what do we have? This was that 933.25, and then we retested that with 933.50. So you made a little bit higher low. So we have a double bottom situation going here. Okay, so always watch that. Now, you can see here how we spiked right on up into the 8-day, the 21-day, and then that's where it stopped it. That's why you trade the chart. So upside, what we're watching is we're looking at the top of that candle at 950 flat. Then we're looking for that 8-day, 951, and then we have 954 as your 21-day. Then we have your 50-day at 956.81. Now, if you can get back above all that, then we come right top of there at that 962 level. We'll come up here at that 969, and then we have that 975, which is your 200-day, and then we have a 100-day at 980 sitting right there, and then we can come move it all the way up to the top there at 991, and then we come all the way up here at that 999.3 level. All right. But right now, we got to see how this is all going to shake out. Because remember, this is also still a very retail play kind of situation. But into earnings, once those earnings hit, you just look to the past, it just wants to dump right on off. Okay. So downside here, you're watching, obviously, is today's low, 944. And then we come down to the bottom there at 939.61. We'll come there at that 936 level. But then right here, 933, that's going to be the key. We lose that, you can come all the way down to the bottom there at that 925 level. All right. So that's what we got here on the old Costco. Now, we do have a nice, good sideways action, and we do have a double bottom. So you want to give that the benefit of the doubt. But we do have a declining situation. High, lower high, lower high, lower high situation. But again, earnings can be anything. It could pop right on up. But a lot of times, if you just go to the past here on these earnings, it's just like a big sell-off every time that the earnings have to come out. But they always blow away numbers. It's just that after that, traders lose interest. Okay, so then we have the old weekly chart here. Now you can see the same thing. There's a beautiful stair step run up. Got all the way to that 1,078. And then we put this candle in right here, which was basically 1,067. Okay, see that? 1,067, 1,078. That was your double top. See that? Boom. Double top situation. Came right on down. Now we're hunting right at this right here. So 925, that's going to be very, very critical. And then bottom there at 871.71. And then we have that 962 level, which we can always get right down to that level. Okay. Now, upside here on the weekly is you're looking at that 960. We're looking at the 50-day at 966, and then a 21-day at 977. Okay. So you got to be a little bit careful with this here going into earnings. I know I do. I just always sell it right into the earnings. Because when you look at the past here, it just wants to sell off after earnings, and then give it about 3-4 weeks. Then it's a good buying opportunity again. Okay, let's take a look here now at Nike. Okay, here we have Nike. Now, Nike used to be a really hot stock, but it's kind of a dinosaur now. But let's just take a look at earnings. The earnings are coming out here on the 30th. So look at their past earnings. Okay, right here, gap right down, sold right on off. This earnings here, kind of gapped up and then sideways kind of an action. Now, again, they're probably fighting these tariff situations and they have to raise prices and stuff like that. So we got to just see how that's going to shake out here. It's not something I would get into ahead of earnings which are coming out on the 30th, all right? So you can see here how we just ran up here, but we had this double top again. Okay, what do we have there? You had that 79. What do we have there? Yeah, see, we had 79.99. And then we come up here, you had 80.17. See how that double top situation right there? Couldn't hold either one of them, and then she sold right on down. Now, on the downside, this is pretty easy here. We just want to watch that 200-day at 70.10, and we want to watch that 100-day here sitting at 69.59. That's going to be very key. Now, if we lose this, okay, you lose that, look at this big-ass gap, okay? So what you're looking for is the bottom of this candle right there, okay? 69.69. That's going to be very, very key. And then right here, top of that candle is 62.73. Your gap, okay, 69.9 to 69, and right there, your fill at 62.73. Yeah, we have support right there. At that top of the candle, 64.16, we have support right there at 63.75. But really, once it starts getting into that gap, it's going to want to fill that gap right there at that 62.73 level, okay? Now, on the upside, you can see here where this fiercely right below this 8 SMA here. Okay, so that's going to be very, very key. You can see how strong that 8 SMA is. So this is going to be key. You got to get above of that 71.78. If we can, we'll come up there, 72.42 level. We can come on top of that candle, 73.60. Then we're looking for that 74, your 21-day. Look for that 50-day at 75. And then we have a gap to the upside here. Okay, see right here, we want to look at that candle. That's going to be your upside target if you can get rolling, 76.05. And then we look to that fill at that 77.12 level. So your gap, your fill, and then you can come up to the top there, 79.99, and then your retest right there all the way up here at that 80.17 level. Okay, so you do have a gap and a fill on the upside, but look at this big ass gap and fill here on the downside. Also, now we just have that sideways action. So we got to see how it all shakes out here. This is not something I would take, I say, into the earnings, but we can see how it all going to shake out. Now you can see your RSI. You're just kind of melting all the way on down here. You're sitting at 34. That's still not oversold or overbought. This here, the green, you can see the momentum to the downside, but that 8-day is very, very critical, and you can see how strong that 8-day actually is, where you just can't get through it. Yeah, I can pop through it on a red candle, but I can't hold it on a closing basis. That's the key. Now, you look in here on the weekly chart, you can just see downtrending situation. See, we had that double top, and then just series of highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, and lower highs. Okay, you got to get back above this price channel, that 80.17. Then you can start hitting that 82 level. Then you can start hitting that 89. Then all you do is just bring these levels right across. Those are all just your upside targets. That's why I like the price channel, because as it's falling down, it leaves this on the other side. So when the stock does turn around, these are all your price upside channel and your upside resistant levels. Easy peasy. Okay, that's what I got for you. I'll be back here after your pit close. We'll take a look at Bitcoin, at that Ethereum, ETF, ETHU, gold, silver, crude oil, and natty gas, and the indexes, which are pretty much bloody red. All right, trade what's in front of you, not what you want.